Well, thank you everyone for attending today's demo webinar for Foundation Cloud. We will go ahead and get started with the presentation. I will ask that if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. Also, feel free to introduce yourself and where you're joining us from if you'd like. But just to get started, so we are Impact. Today you have me as your host. I'm Vanessa Cole, based out of Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm a senior account executive here at Impact. And we also have our senior solutions engineer, Jill Byrne, out of Iowa. She will be running the demonstration for us today. We also have a few other team members from Impact online to help answer questions as they come into the chat. So just quickly, who we are, our mission really is to empower nonprofits to grow, increase giving, and create impact in your communities. We do have over 20 years of experience working with and in foundations, and our Foundation Cloud solution was designed and developed by industry experts in both the nonprofit and technology spaces to really empower you to grow, increase giving, and as I said, create that impact in your communities. Now, Foundation Cloud is our flagship cloud-based donor-advised fund grant management, scholarship, and portal application suite, and it's comprised of Foundation Cloud grants and Foundation Cloud Community Portal. It enables you to make informed and strategic business decisions that drive philanthropy and accelerate growth with efficient and scalable DAF management and grant making and scholarship programs so that you can spend less time on your administrative processes and more time on your mission-driven activities. Now, Foundation Cloud operates as a central hub in your best-in-class solution technology stack. We do integrate with some of the leading CRM and financial management solutions, and we also incorporate partnered powerful business intelligence reporting, as well as payment processing and email applications as part of that suite. All right, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jill so that you guys can see Foundation Cloud in action.
Okay. So, well, we're going to start with the portal. Great introduction there, Vanessa, discussing the differences of our products being the outward-facing portal that we're going to start in today, and then we'll take a look at processing in the grant system. So the portal, as Vanessa just mentioned, supports a variety of different supporters that join your organization, that support your organization. If you're managing DAFs, donor advised funds, so those fund holders, fund advisors can log into the portal, see their funds. We'll spend a lot of time in the fund holder persona and their experience in the system. And then also scholarship and grant applicants. Our system supports a variety of different form types. There's no limit to how many forms, applications you make available in the portal. If you have the type of committees that need access to review those applications, so those reviewers and committee members can also log into the portal to do their reviewing activities. If you have a board, maybe board members that need to come in and look at dockets, review those grant payments prior to them being issued and distributed. And then for those organizations that need sponsored, or maybe you have some vendors. So our portal also supports those types of reimbursement activities, being able to attach, let's say, an invoice or a receipt and receive reimbursement from their fund. Again, great situation for those organizations that you might be sponsoring. This experience that we're going to go through today in the portal, I want to point out that what comes along with configuration is branding and skinning. So right now you're looking at Sample Foundation up here at the top, and then the footer at the bottom has some kind of generic information there, again, just to give you a sense of what's possible. Your implementation of the portal includes time with our implementation consultants, of which to create that skinning and that type of branding. We also support multi-factor authentication, which you can choose to set up for the portal and for those folks that are logging in. Like I said, we're mostly going to stay in the fund holder experience for our tour today, but let's take a look at the capabilities that are at their fingertips, such as being able to come in and look at and at a glance, how's my fund doing? Do I want to take a look at my grant history? Maybe do a grant recommendation or an interfund transfer. Your organization can promote areas of giving, such as certain programs or grant opportunities to the fund holder. They can take a look at their gift history, including not only the gifts to the funds that they're associated with, but any of their gifts to your organization. Any investment strategies, if they want to open a new fund, be able to see any reports, make donations, and then have an official fund statement, and you can share documents with them. So that's a quick glance at the capabilities that we offer for those fund advisors, those fund holders. Again, all of this narrative that you're seeing is configurable. A lot of tailoring that you're going to be able to control, such as these grids, these little information tiles and how they present. The user themselves has a little bit of light tailoring, of course, being able to kind of create their own view. But this dashboard is really just a glance, just a little summary into those different areas that they can take a look at. Of course, our system is mobile responsive. So for any of those fund holders that happen to be using devices, our system, of course, will respond appropriately and render on whatever screen, whatever device they happen to be using. You also have the ability to embellish the help files. Of course, we ship the product with all sorts of help articles, but you know your supporters the best. So if you feel they need a little extra hand holding, or you would like to put more of your procedures and your internal specific articles, you can certainly add to this help section. So lots to control and tailor. The fund summary is an activity that you will go through with our implementation team. You'll partner with them to define the fund summary and what you want to make available. Through fund configuration, you decide what funds should be available to that fund holder. We have a variety of different types of roles that can include read-only. So maybe they need access to the fund, but not necessarily be able to make any changes and so forth. And so you can set up access to the funds in what we call a fund viewer role. You're going to notice the icon, the printer icon, kind of peppered all throughout the experience. We try to make it possible for the fund holders, for the site users to be able to get the information out. So if they have to share that with their financial advisors, they can do so, or family members, pretty easy. The data grids, right now we're looking at some grant history. All of the data grids can also be exported out very quickly and easily. I can get that grant history out into an Excel document, and again, be able to share that outside of the portal. Looking at their grant history, they can jump in and go a little deeper into seeing exactly who that recipient is, and then also be able to re-grant, very quickly be able to reissue that grant and regenerate that from their grant history. The grant recommendation area that we're going to dive into next gives them an opportunity to see kind of their history with the organization. Again, they'll have access to their various funds. They can certainly look at that in aggregate if they want to see all the funds together. The funds are part of a sync that works, as you just heard Vanessa mention. We integrate nicely with several leading CRM and financial accounting tools. And so a lot of that information, of course, comes from a variety of sources. We compile that together here so that when the fund holder is looking at their available balance, they know that that is accurate and up to date. From their history, they can take a look at the recommendations that they're in process with. So these are all created. They can jump back in at any time and continue on with that recommendation form, or duplicate it if they want to, or remove it entirely. So those are the ones that they're in process with. Once they submit their recommendation form, of course, it's going to show up in the grant system that we're going to take a look at here in a few moments. They can monitor that status and see how it's progressing. Go in and be able to do some investigation, duplicate it, and also view the grant information. For those that have made it through the processing, they'll be able to see their final status, whether that was accepted or possibly declined. And then we also support reoccurring for any of those grant payments that are issued on a reoccurring basis. They will have the opportunity to come out here and review that arrangement, and then also be able to stop the cadence. So if they no longer wish to distribute those grant awards, they have the ability to cancel those. So what does a grant recommendation look like? Of course, we support both interfund transfers and grant recommendations. Really nice streamlined form. Here on the screen, you're going to see an example of how you can use the page configuration to support a variety of different things. This is all HTML backed. So for example, if you want to embed some instructions, that's a PDF that I have landed straight there on that page. Or you can also embed email addresses. They need a little extra help. They can get a hold of your organization pretty quickly. So by looking at the options that when we're walking our fund holder through this form, we try to keep it super simple, lots of efficiencies built straight into the experience for them. They'll have an access to their various funds that they're associated with, so they can see their balances. To create a grant recommendation, they have a couple of different places that they can search and get the information about that recipient. That can be from within the grants database, any of the organizations they've granted to in the past. We natively include the IRS list of approved 501c3s, or also within your integrated CRM system. By opening up this panel, they can directly type in a new recipient if they would like to. These are all configurable features. You can choose which ones to raise or to make available to the fund holder. So if this free text field makes you a little nervous, you can certainly suppress that option. Let's go ahead and pick from our past grants. Which will make it a lot easier because it's going to autofill a lot of information on behalf of that fund holder. Notice that you can set minimums, whether or not this is to be a single payment or reoccurring. These payment frequencies are configurable. Grant designation, special requests, and note to staff, those all come into the system for review. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment. So here's our acknowledgement and submit page. They can choose to be anonymous if they want to on the fund level, or their name. Agree, choose submit. They'll receive an email. All of the emails that the portal sends out are completely configurable, and they're also prompted here with a little pop-up or toast message. Where did that go? So if we hop into the grants database, this is the grant system, so Foundation Cloud Grants. Anything that's happening out on the portal comes into the grant system for processing. So this is where your office staff will come in and review any of those online grant requests that we submitted, give you an opportunity to go through your internal processes, your internal vetting, because at this moment in time, it's simply just a request. That fund holder has requested that a grant distribution from their fund be sent to an organization. Once it is reviewed, you're able to turn it into the grant record. Grant records, let's dive in and take a look at the grant records in the system. Grant records is really where all of the magic happens, in that they are able to surface all of those payments, whether or not that's a single one-time payment, or notice we do support multiple payments. You're able to come in and edit these. So if you need to change the payee, maybe more than one fund, we also support multiple fund distribution. So if by chance it's a multi-funded project, that can certainly happen. Going back out to the portal, let's take a look at the experience for our grant applicants, which again, we support both grant applicants and scholarship applicants, which also is included within our multi-factor authentication. Similar look and feel, but notice now that we've traversed into the portal as a grant applicant, we have some different capabilities surfaced for us. This is a great time to talk about how you can blend roles. So I'm sure you have lots of situations where maybe a board member also happens to be a fund holder, so they need to have access to both of those roles and the experiences. And so you can blend these together. For demonstrating, I kind of go in one at a time. So now we're looking at that grant applicant. They can search the available grants. This is a keyword search. We support various types of period of times that your grant applications might be available. So if they're only during certain periods of time, that is open for applicants to come in and apply, versus those that might be open all the time. We're going to go into an eligibility application, or kind of that gatekeeper application. It gives you an opportunity to create fields that might have requirements related to various funds within the system. And so you can create what I call contextual fields. So thinking of this question here, is your organization a nonprofit? Why, yes, they are. That's going to open up this extra field to then capture their tax ID. That's just a simple little example of the robust capabilities that our fields and our forms. We support being able to attach files, create budget pages. These, of course, can do calculations and summaries. Any additional information, you can create things like free text fields. Once the applicant submits their applications, they can come in and take a look at those applications that they have created, and maybe they need to come back and finish, or those that they have submitted, and be able to go back in and review those at any time, including the ones that they're still working on. Any of their awards, so let's pop into looking at their grant distributions. This is going to include the status, when they submitted. If it's a grant payment situation that will have more than one payment, they'll be able to see that schedule. And then also we support supplemental pages. So let's say in this case, we need them to come back and report how that grant money has affected their program, or maybe just let us know how it's going. We can submit or send them a supplemental page, like a final report, and require them to fill that out. Of course, the portal will email and let them know that this 6 months report is out here and they need to complete that. And then, of course, be able to go back in and review any of their awards related to that. So where does all that go? You just heard me mention everything that's happening on the portal comes into the grant system for processing. So our online apps area, functional area, gives you an opportunity to go in and create application forms, and also view any of the submitted grant application forms or submitted scholarship application forms. If we hop into an application, let's take a look at one of our grant applications here. I'm going to sort by that type and bring up that eligibility application that we were just looking at out there on the portal. Notice that you have the ability to preview that application. So if you want to take a look at how it's going to appear to the portal applicants, you can take a look at that through their lens. The pages is really where the magic happens. You heard me mention before that we support a variety of different types of pages, such as addendum, which is really more relevant to scholarship applicants. Preliminary, so for those of you that go through those types of cyclical or periods of time where you're taking in preliminary applications and applicants. Reference pages, again, that kind of goes along with our scholarship applicants. You can make pages that only reviewers see, lots of standard pages and different varieties. And then, of course, supplementals. Supplementals, again, those are going to be triggered based on workflow in the system. In other words, after maybe the grant payment was issued, we want that to show up on the portal after a few maybe a few weeks to have them come back and report. Everything that's happening within the system ends up in a check run. So where do the grant payments go? You heard Vanessa talk about how the Foundation Cloud sits within your overall ecosystem and your tech stack. And so when grants are ready for issuance and they're ready to be paid, you'll be identifying those available grant payments. This list is searchable, it's robust, you can filter on a variety of different things, identify the payments that are ready, bring it up here into our batch, send that off to the integrated finance system. And then from that system, you will distribute those payments, whether that's ACH or check. Once a grant payment has finalized, the integrations will bring that payment information back into the system. And so our grant payments, notice this one says paid. So we pop back into that. Kind of brings the story to an end here in that we will surface the check number, invoice number, and exactly what transpired on that payment process. And so we can see here the invoice number, that check number, this one happened to be sent out on a paper check, and then what check run it was part of. So at a glance, that's our experience for our fund holder and our scholarship, or excuse me, our grant applicant. Hopefully this information is helpful. I'm going to pass it back over to Vanessa.
Great, thanks so much, Jill. Well, I didn't see any questions come up in the Q&A, but we will be sending out a recording of the webinar as well as a copy of the slide deck that we used, and it will have our contact information. So if you do have any follow-up questions or would like additional information or perhaps to schedule a call with one of us, feel free to reach out and do so. Thanks again for everyone for attending today.
Thank you.